I don't know about. Okay. All right, ready to go? All right. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the January 16th, 2025 meeting to order. Before we move on to the agenda items, I'd like to acknowledge our hybrid meeting format. Our meeting is now being recorded and will be available by contacting Danae or via our group SharePoint site under recorded meetings. The call-in number was provided on the meeting agenda for members of the public who wish to call in by phone, but I don't see anybody on the line tonight from the general public. So for phone-in callers, during staff presentations, staff will make every effort to specify which materials they are referencing so everyone can follow along. Everything was in the packet that went out along with the agenda. Hey, Kylie. Perfect timing. Hey, Nick. So before I jump into roll call, I did want to just mention one quick update that since our last meeting, Kelly Atkinson has resigned from the Bothell Arts Commission. His term was up in April, and he had decided that January the 1st was going to be when he wanted to officially resign. So with that, I just wanted to say that before we went through roll call. I also just wanted to recognize Kelly. You know, he had been on the board for, I think, since the beginning. Is that right, Danae? And Kelly, was a very active contributor. I really appreciated, he really kind of led me along as a complete newbie, and I just wanted to thank him publicly or through this group just because he'll be missed, and he had a lot of great ideas. So thank you, Kelly. Excuse me, now we'll take a moment for roll call of the Bothell Arts Commission position by position number. Please say here when I call your name. Sarah Jamshidi, no, position 1. Here. Great. Kylie Chang, secretary, position 2. Here. Thank you. Hillary Long, position 3. Hillary couldn't make it tonight, so she's excused. Position 4 then was Kelly's, and so that is now open. Holly Hughes, vice chair, position 5. Mary Beth Turk, position 6 is me. Nikita Thakalath, position 7. And then we have 2 open youth positions, position 8 and 9. So, and then in addition, the following city staff are in attendance: art liaison, tourism manager, Danae McGee, and Nick Stroop, the Parks Director. Is that your official title?
Parks and Recreation
Parks
Director.
and Recreation Director. Thanks. Great. Anybody else that I've missed? I don't think so. Welcome, everybody. It's excited to kick off the 25 year. We've got a lot of great things, especially after our offsite in November. I feel like we're ready to rock and roll. It's going to be a really great year. The first step for tonight is the approval of the agenda in order and content. So hopefully everybody saw the agenda in the packet that was sent to you. We just need a motion to approve the agenda or comment on it.
I will motion to approve.
Would anybody like to second that motion? Okay. So it's the motion is to approve tonight's agenda in order and content. Is there any discussion? All right. Let's vote on that. And all in favor, please raise your hand. Sarah? Are you in a favor?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Anybody opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. We can move ahead. We have no one from the public, so I think I can move forward and not read the public comment protocol. We also don't have any special presentations tonight. We considered having someone from the grant program come to talk and share feedback, but we thought maybe we would wait and put that on a later agenda. So we'll talk more about that maybe in next month's meeting. Next on the agenda is a chair report. A couple of quick things. The Arts Commission recap. Hopefully everybody got the packet that Danae sent out that Una sent after our meeting. So there's a lot of great content. There's obviously, this was, a lot of hours of great work put together and synthesized here. The next step overall is that Danae and Holly and I are planning to get together and kind of talk through more of this in specific detail, as well as really looking at kind of, okay, especially this calendar and assignment sheet here, really. How do we make sure it's as actionable as possible? And how do we incorporate this into our monthly meetings so that really it's not just this great thing we did that we kind of look at and wonder what we do with it. It's really how do we make it actionable. So does anybody have any input or comments that they want to share tonight while we're together, while that's kind of top of mind, before we go in and talk more about this before that some of us go and talk about at the end of the month?
I see that me and Kylie had signed up for an artist meet and greet just before the city councils in January.
Okay.
So that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good point. Right. But there's still an opportunity to look at the timing on that. Right. Anything else anybody wants to comment on?
If I
One
may.
thing Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I wanted to, for me, it's easier to understand what task I need to do. And I really don't mind and more than happy to tell me, okay, Sarah, this is what you need to do for the next 2-3 months.
Okay. Totally understand. And I think, Sarah, I would just ask if there's anything that as you look at this and what you've signed up for, if there's anything that you're saying as a result of what I've committed to, this is what I'd like to do, right? I mean, because I'm sure you've got some great ideas that we'd want to make sure we're including as well. And anybody, I'd say, reach out to me separately or to Danae or Holly, and just if you've got any thoughts before we just kind of really tackle this. But I think what we'll want to do is in February, really try to make a larger portion of our meeting kind of talking about making this cultural plan update more actionable. Okay.
Yeah, sounds
perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. The next is the upcoming Creative Arts Recipient event. Danae sent everybody an email about the next event, which is Masahiro Sugano, January 25th, 3 to 5 p.m. at UW Bothell. Did everybody see that in their inbox?
Yeah.
I did.
Great. So hopefully as many people as possible can make that. It should be very interesting. There's a place to register on that email. So please go ahead and do that if you can. The third thing I wanted to just bring up is the National League of Cities document that Danae sent out before the end of the year. It was something that Jen Alderks, our city council member, sent to me after attending that conference back east. The next step is really to look at that and take how the things that we have in mind to do as an arts commission interrelate to something like that proposal, how we can adopt maybe some similar things. And then I plan to meet with Jen and talk more about that and share more about what we're planning to do. So it's really planting the seed with her about things that we'll plan to update when we do our more official kind of meeting with City Council in March. But this is just kind of more in my mind, any opportunity we have to like talk more with council about, advancing things from the Arts Commission is great. So if anybody has had a chance to look at that document or can look at it within the next couple of weeks, I welcome any input. I'm happy to meet for coffee, talk through it a little bit more. It's just, I'm excited that she's excited, and I want to do all we can to align and take our initiatives forward. So that's kind of where that stands at this point. Lastly, from a chair report, the overall upcoming events, as I think some people may know, we are at the point where we're starting the recruitment process for boards and commissions. So there are quite a few positions that are open. Some folks, their term is up, Kelly being one. So basically we've got several open positions. Tell your friends, both youth as well as adults, anybody that's interested. There is an open house on January 21st from 5 to 6 p.m. for boards and commission recruitment. And so I will be planning to go to that and can answer any questions for people. And you're welcome if somebody has, a friend that you want to put them in touch with me. I'm happy to talk to them as well. So anyway, just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. The second important thing to put on your calendar is the Joint Council Arts Commission meeting I just referred to. That's tentatively set for Tuesday, March 18th at 6 p.m. So, and that's where, has any board or commission had a meeting yet? Okay. Is there, so it would be great to kind of know what the overall agenda might look like so that we can prepare most appropriately. Yeah.
So we'll definitely be putting that together and help prepare for that. I believe the Planning Commission is going to go before the Arts Commission. So I think we'll at least see sort of maybe get a feel for what it looks like.
Okay, great. And are we with Parks or are we with anybody else?
We're separate.
Separate. Okay, great. Yeah, so we welcome any input and we will, look forward to having more connection going forward in 2025, right? All right. The next item on the agenda is new business. The first is consideration of the October 7th meeting minutes, which was attachment B in our packet. Does anybody have any input, or are we ready to make a motion to approve those meeting minutes? Does anyone want to second that motion?
I second
Okay, Nikita has seconded. So the motion is to approve the October 7th meeting minutes in the content as it was released. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, anybody opposed? All right, the motion to approve the October 7th meeting minutes was unanimous. All right, then the next is to consider the December 5th meeting minutes that were also sent out in your packet. So does anybody want to make a motion for that? Okay, Nikita has made a motion. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Sarah has seconded it to approve the December 5th meeting minutes. Any discussion? I already say that. Okay, it's too many motions here. All right, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Great. Anybody opposed? No. All right, it's unanimous again. The meeting minutes from December 5th have been approved. The next item under new business, and the last item under new business, is the Doug Allen Sculpture Committee. I think we do have an update here. I think the committee met this week. So Holly, I will look at you because I know you are part of that committee.
Yes, but if you read
great.
anything that I'm
Can
in,
you say who's all on the committee? Is it?
it's from here, me and Nikita.
Okay.
And then on parks, I know that Sheila is, and then Whitney. Yeah, and Jace is as well.
He couldn't attend.
Oh, okay, okay, and then Chase. I think I met him at the meet and greet, and he's
Yeah.
really enthusiastic and cool. So I'm really excited about the team. Sheila is running the show, and she is absolutely fantastic. So she has a fantastic handle on it, which is really great to see that same amount of enthusiasm for art coming from parks. And Sheila and I connected at the other event as well. And I could just tell she's fantastic. So very excited to be working with her. And so essentially, we were mostly discussing timeline and then like basic needs from them for us to kind of get moving on this. And the goal is hopefully to bring this to council and use for funding, probably public art funds, because we did some research into the cost of a bronze statue. Well, it would be around $60,000. And so obviously their $6,000 that they have raised wouldn't quite cover $60,000. But we think this is something that a lot of people are on board with. I think that council would likely approve, hopefully, a project like this. I think the community is really behind it. So I think it's a really great use of these funds. So I'm not too concerned about gaining those. But for now, we're going to meet separately. We're going to meet with Parks as well as like a joint committee. And this will be kind of our first like joint committee project that I've experienced on the commission. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then hopefully setting a precedent to do more in the future. So I want this one to go well. And it will, because we've got a great team. So for now, Sheila's going to kind of set up the timeline and kind of let us know what her timeline is looking like, and then give us the information we need to start making those decisions after we kind of talk to council in March. So for now, kind of waiting for action. And then a lot of the action on our side is going to come after those funds are approved. And we're going to have to figure out how we're going to set up a jury for picking the artist, how we're going to do that. We're not sure which process we're going to go with yet. So TBD on that.
So my question is, do they have to put an application for to the council, or they don't have to?
The Arts Commission will do that.
We will do that. Okay.
Yeah. And essentially what it would be is going to the council and saying, we're interested in activating those 1% for art funds during the 2025 year. And this is the amount that we're looking at requesting, and these are our top priorities. And then if council says, the Arts Commission the blessing, then the Arts Commission would begin that process of figuring out what kind of a call, if there is a call that would be done for the Allen sculpture, if that's what council wants us to focus on.
And the only thing I would think is that we would want, while it's a great project, I think we want to make sure we're holistic about the 1% for the art funds.
Exactly.
Because, it's like, it's a great project that came across our desk, and absolutely we want to support it. But then, this is the first time we're really tapping into these funds. Are we thinking holistically about other things that might be going on and how we would want to be allocating funds? So that would be the biggest thing, is just, versus just kind of deciding on one-offs, it's having a strategic kind of approach to how we do this.
We need to make sure that stuff we want to do in the next few years, that won't then take out a huge chunk of that.
And then, this is a great opportunity, a great example of, working with parks. I know that there are other parks and there's a lot of activity that's going on. I'm looking at Nick because it's great that you're here on, especially on this discussion. But, I know there's a lot of discussion about art in these projects. So are there other funding resources that could be tapped into as well?
And we did discuss too, other sources of potential funding, like they already did crowdfunding and they want to shut down their thing, so we're probably not doing that again. But
I thought she said they did the crowdfunding when they first.
They did,
time,
exactly.
But not this time.
But not this time, because
Yeah.
the foundation wants to close. They don't want, and to do more crowdfunding, they have to stay open, and so they're not wanting to do that anymore. So
The
they're.
foundation has already ceased.
Oh, it has, so it's already, so they can't anymore. So, and if someone were to crowdfund, it would have to be like a third party, so we could offer them different grants to apply to too as well, and kind of help them organize that. But their best chance at getting this done is through the 1%. So they've explored some other options as well. So that's good that they're not just, but yeah. So we'll see. We have to kind of discuss our broader scope, and that's what we'll do. Okay, hopefully it all works out.
Okay, great. Thanks for that update. All right, from there, that's all for what we have under new business this month. Let's move into old business. The first is City Hall Gallery.
Okay, well, you've all had an opportunity to see the new exhibit that is on display. It's Sherry Rudin. She specializes in Chinese abstract art. She works with rice paper, paint, ink, and cold wax. Her work is up now through April 1st. We started with some social media last week in the Parks Department social channels. Next month, we'll be featuring her in the city's e-newsletter and through Bothell News, which is that information that you see at the top of the city's website on the homepage. And then the Arts Commission page is updated with Sherry's information as well. We will be doing a postcard highlighting the Art Walk, which is on March 13th. And Sherry will be at the Art Walk. So we'll be able to do some additional marketing then. The postcard will be available at the next meeting, the next Arts Commission meeting in February. So that will give everyone a little less than a month to spread those around, to the places that you go. So we'll have those available then as well. And then, as you may recall, one of our grant recipients, Raya Wu, she specializes in Asian American diaspora. She has requested to use the gallery space for an art exhibit, and it will not only feature art, but it will also feature different activities of the Asian American diaspora. And she's requesting to do that during Immigration Month in June. So we're going to leave that space available to her for the entire month. Sherry Rudin's work is up through April, so that gives us like a 2-month little gap. So rather than doing the call to artists for the remainder of 2025 and 2026, I've been working with the gallery committee, and they've given the green light to invite Beth Ann Lawson to exhibit her work in May and June. And Beth Ann is the artist that we have featured with the mural. And so I wanted to show you really quickly her work. As you can see, she really specializes in, she calls it puzzling, essentially, and she calls herself a modern impressionist. But she likes to take out little images and then kind of put them back in different locations. And so here's just a brief example of her work. So we'll be able to have that on exhibit. And I think it will really complement the mural and give people a real understanding of what what she does and what she's all about. So she is available and she's excited to exhibit as part of that.
Hey, are you adding this to the public art mapping project?
I hadn't thought of that, but I will.
Yeah, I just thought of it. That would be, I mean, it's great that, I mean, her show is perfect, just kind of in tying in and like, it all works perfectly. But then it just made me think about the whole project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I will do that. Thank you so much. Also, wanted you to know that we will begin the Mural Wall marketing on Tuesday, and the post will hashtag Begin at Bothell. And we're talking about encouraging people to do selfies, thanks to Holly's great idea. We'll also be marketing it through the Begin at Bothell, especially once all those hashtags start showing up and people next to the piece. So looking forward to that. Hopefully you had an opportunity to also see the email that I sent to everyone regarding the comments that we've gotten back about the mural. It's been nothing but stupendous. Council is absolutely in love with it. Staff is really excited. You saw Deputy City Manager Tony Call's comment in the email that I sent. So really, really everyone is just thrilled. And then council will be going to Washington, D.C. In the next 6 weeks. And they have been to U.S. Representative Delbany's office before, and they've noticed that there are photos in her office depicting the community that she represents. So there might be a sculpture of one of Redmond's pieces, but there's nothing of Bothell. So council has requested that we do image of the mural, and I'm working with Beth Ann on that. I'm sorry, Beth Ann Lawson on that.
I know where you're going.
And then Willard Art and Frame to put together a beautiful matted and framed piece that they can present to her when they go visit. So
didn't we have a canvas? Looking at a canvas.
great. Yeah, we were talking about that, and I actually ran into Kyle the other day and said, would you be interested in using the canvas as the gift? And he's been to her office, and he said that it's too big.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so it's too big. So I know, it would have been perfect, right?
Yeah.
What a gift.
We have it already.
Yeah, but
Created especially for you.
yeah. So anyway, we'll stick with the 11 by 17
Okay.
matted and frame piece.
Oh, that's lovely.
And Kyle sent me an email today. I know you saw it too, you were CC'd. Because it's been in the storage room on the 4th floor, they felt that, until a decision is made on what we will do with the piece, they had a couple hooks on the 4th floor that needed to be used. So they've got it hanging on the 4th floor.
Good.
So,
Hey, better than in the storage.
yeah.
It's actually right at the entryway of his office. So
Oh,
every council member sees it, they're like, whoa.
that's great.
It's a great location for it. So if you're interested after the meeting and you want to go up and see it, remind me and we'll go up there and take a look at it. Let's see. Any other questions about the City Hall Gallery? Comments from the gallery committee? I pretty much talked about the mural wall. I just, we wanted to include it. I've given the update about all the great things that are happening there. I hope, I'd love to hear everyone's comments about it, what your thoughts are. Any questions?
Did you get a chance to see it when you came in?
Yes.
We were talking about it before everybody showed up, so. I think, no, it's great, and that the fact that there's been so many great comments that have come afterwards is really like thanks again, everybody, for making this happen, right? And today for rocking and rolling. I mean, that was a really quick turnaround at the end of the month or end of the year, and it was really fun to come in here and see it was all done and ready to go. So, very cool.
So Will Schlough's proposal, as you all know, Will is a grant award recipient, and he was interested in doing temporary art as part of the grant program, and he was awarded $10,000. And he has come forward with 2 temporary art designs. He is interested in activating the bridge, and he has met with both Nick and I, and Nick has given his blessing. And this is all very initial. You know, we're still in that very concept design. We haven't had any conversations yet with Public Works or with our planning department with regard to permits. But at this point, we are moving forward with activating the bridge. He has 2 concepts. You've all had an opportunity, I think, to take a look at them. We were going to talk about this in November, but then we had the bomb cyclone. But he essentially has 2 designs for temporary work on the bridge. One takes a sculptural approach, while the other relies on panel process to create depth and interaction within the site, and that's the case for both pieces. The previous pieces show, his previous pieces in this image shows kind of the various approaches he has to this action. Please let me know if you'd like me to zoom in more, if you want to kind of take a closer look at some of the murals especially. In fact, I'm just going to go for it. Sarah, there are 7 images showing his previous works. Some of them are sculptural, some of them are kind of more of a mural panel design. Do you have any questions about this first aspect of his proposal?
Yes, so I have seen the photos, so I know that you're talking about the mural and the sculpture and everything. I really don't have a question. I only wanted to mention that I was able to listen to the conversation when I am driving, and my daughter is with me, was listening and enjoying, and she's saying hi, and I hope it's okay. She listens to the conversation because she's a member of the public, and I'm assuming that the meeting is not confidential.
No, that is, I need to do this perfectly fine. This is great.
Yeah.
Maybe someday she'll be a arts commissioner.
How old is she?
Yeah. We go hi. Hello.
Hello. What's the age requirement for the youth position?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Thank you. I'm listening.
Okay, great.
All right, great. So beyond creating work that playfully interacts with the bridge, Will's primary goal is to tap into the magic that seems ever present at the site. So his first concept is called Fishing Frog. And Fishing Frog, he has the frog lounging in a hammock hanging from the joists of the bridge. The frog is completely content fishing in the river below and may be close to falling asleep. With this structural work isn't quite as visible from far away, it presents a wonderful discovery, and I think that's so true. The idea that people will be discovering this, either crossing the bridge or passing underneath. It also successfully taps into the magic of the site. The space between the joists is approximately 11 feet, making the frog about the size of a human, which I think is fabulous. Additionally, the design could become a permanent fixture more easily than the panel design that follows. He is using stainless steel, so it is something that will have a longer lifespan. But for the sake of our conversation and using these funds, we are calling it a temporary piece. Though he's depicted as solid in this image, the frog will be sculpted in a similar fashion to the one made from washers in Kirkland, and I know a lot of you have seen that piece. Instead of stainless washers, though, he'll be made of small diameter circles of mild steel. It'll be patinated to a greenish hue. The circles will give him a more solid feel than his predecessor, the one in Kirkland, and create a more amphibious skin texture. The steel will be sealed, although rust will have inevitably set in over time, adding to the nostalgic and magical feel of the piece. The hammock will be made of stainless steel rod to look more like string. The rods will be welded to a collar bracket that will attach to the bridge's joists with a tightening system similar to a pipe clamp. Any comments or thoughts on the sculptural proposal?
I have a question. So when I was first looking at this, I think I had it flipped in my head. Is this on the side of the bridge that's on the trail side? Or is it on the city side?
It's hard to tell, but when I look at it, I'm seeing it on the city side.
That's what I thought too. And then I saw the morning glories and I realized it was on the trail side.
Yeah, I thought it was on the
To me,
trail.
that makes a difference. So because in this one, is that,
would
would the
be
frog
on
be
the-
here as well?
That's what I thought.
Okay, so then that's trail.
Oh, to me, I thought that was city side. Oh, you're
'Cause
right.
that's by
because
apartment.
I thought it was on the trail side, like
Yeah,
after.
that makes sense, doesn't it? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Because you would want it to be on that side.
Yeah, I like that.
so-
I like that actually better. So this
Okay.
kind of changes my, neat, thank you.
Okay. Sarah, any questions?
No questions so far.
Moving on to proposal number 2, and this is the panel piece. It's a panel-based mural that interacts with the bridge. The piece depicts a group of giant morning glories slowly reaching their way across the river. The various planes of the bridge, such as the wood framework and the steel railings, allow the panels to be layered in a way that heightens the illusion of their depth. Vines in the form of heavy-duty suction hoses will reach across the wrap around the bridge's joists and beams, further selling the physicality and growth of the flowers. Similar to the frog, all panels and hoses will be tightened to existing infrastructure with special bolt and clamp systems, leaving no trace of the work once it's removed.
And on these, is the back just black?
The back is just black. I did ask him about
Okay,
that.
so when you're walking on the bridge, it would be a silhouette and then
Only visible from
one side.
which is kind of interesting because that's a little bit hard. I mean, there's a bench if I,
Yeah.
so that the trail's over here, right?
Yeah.
To the right. So then you might see it from the bench that's close to the water there, but you.
Yeah, but not really from, yeah. Like
Not
how-
really from the bridge.
Yeah, or
That
from the other direction. So if you're walking from,
I guess if you're on this, but over by the, what do you call the place where the music is, the amphitheater?
Yeah.
You might be able to see it from there, right?
that's true, yeah, totally.
What are people's thoughts on these different proposals?
I think I prefer the frog.
Yeah, I prefer the frog.
Okay. I feel like, while the morning glories are very beautiful and very pretty, I feel like if you were to take a picture with it, it doesn't feel the same, like, have the same, like, draw to it. And also, yeah, it would be, you can only see it from one side, but you could see the frog from both sides. Though I do agree with, like, the position we talked about, like, the trail side versus, I think it would be better the way we talked about. Yeah, I think that, especially because the other side will be, like, kind of blacked out when you're just walking, I think that it feels more interactive with the frog. I think also that's become more.
Yeah, the frog looks more interesting.
Mhm.
Something
Yeah.
new, like just lounging and relaxing and.
Sarah, do you have any comments?
I'm trying to, I remember that Danae sent out the pictures and I'm just trying to, I'm in front of my computer right now and trying to find the pictures, but I wonder where I can find them. So sorry.
It's part of the agenda packet that just came out. So if you go to that,
Oh.
yeah, that whole attachment.
There you
Keep
go.
scrolling
Thank you.
until you come to that portion of it. It's past the minutes.
While you're doing that, Holly, do you have any more comments or anything?
Yes, I remember. There you go. I found it. Yeah. I remember I saw it somewhere, but I couldn't remember exactly where.
Oh, could be visible from the bridge. Like if
So, I
take
mean,
selfies with it.
if I may,
Is it under?
are we discussing about the design, or to explain our preference?
Yeah, I think we're just trying to get input from like what we've seen so far and what people's comments are.
Oh, I see. If I may, I personally, I really liked the frog under the bridge because I found it funny, interesting, and capturing in a way that it's just so funny. So captured my mind. But on the other hand, the flower, I liked it very much because of its magnitude. It's huge, big, and there's no way you can ever not seeing it, if you will. So between these two, I'm just debating, but yeah, I haven't exactly decided which one I like better. The flower is huge and eye capturing, and the frog is so funny.
What I understand with the positioning is you can't really take a selfie with either of them.
That's true. You can't really take a selfie with either.
Right?
Unless you're in a kayak.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Possibly, I think if you were near the trail and you just came out kind of far,
Yeah.
probably do that.
Probably.
You know,
So Hallie, do you want to say anything? I'll chime in after you, but
When we first were looking at this, I was talking to my husband about it, and he had some concerns, like, okay, well, this is like the first thing you see when you see Bothell is going to be this frog. Does it represent Bothell? And so we're having this conversation, and I was in love with it immediately because I love Frog and Toad. And so I was like, this is the best thing ever. So he kind of shifted my perspective a little bit to go, okay, like if I'm first coming to Bothell and I see this, is it going to tell me anything about the town? However, now that I know it's on the other side of the bridge, I like the frog because it's not the gateway. It's you're coming on the trail, and we get so much traffic on bikes. If I were on a bike and I hadn't seen this before and I saw this, I would stop, I would get out, I would walk over, and then I would be welcomed into the town through the bridge. So I think I like that because I think it will draw people in. I don't know if the flowers will, because I think if you're coming from the wrong direction, you're going to miss them entirely because the back is black. Here, I think you can see it either way. And I did not realize the scale was going to be like human size. I was picturing maybe 3 or 4 feet. And so I thought, oh, you can miss them. If it's that big and it's on, I think that could be like a tourist draw, at least for people who are already like experiencing the trail, and like bring people in. And because a lot of people who I talk to don't realize that there's like a little town here sometimes. They're like, oh, I've seen this sign. And I was like, oh, have you walked? No. But with something like this, I feel like we might actually get a little bit of tourism, like just by capturing people's attention. So I like this one because of its location.
Our signage isn't.
my husband just noticed it. Like he said, is that a new sign? like a month ago. I'm like,
Yeah. Unfortunately, not quite as much as I think an adorable fishing frog would. The signs are very pretty.
They were expensive. You know, we had an initial conversation just in one of our earlier meetings, back before our November meeting, and when I first saw it, I will say I love his frog on the cross-corridor trail. It's just this very whimsical, looks great. I love the material that's used, everything else. I was a little disappointed that it didn't pick up more of a crow theme, honestly, because I do feel like this is our iconic structure for Bothell. So it's like, are we ready to give up this real estate to a frog or a flower versus this signature icon? And I will just say, there is something about crows that you hear when Kyle, city manager Kyle Stannard said at the meeting, and it had crows, right? I mean, so it's like, it's something from a branding standpoint for our city that we are known for worldwide. And so for me, I struggle a little bit with giving up this prime real estate for one of these two. And I wonder, has he considered any sort of depiction of a crow? It's like Kirkland has a frog. Okay, do we have to get a frog too? I don't dislike the frog, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like I want us to be really thoughtful about this decision because of what we're talking about. If it was a different little bridge over here or someplace other in Bothell, I wouldn't have as much of a hesitation, and it's just how I personally feel. Are we ready to give up that real estate? Because I don't think you can put something on the other side. It might be too conflicting, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely
And
not.
so that would be my only caution on that. And I don't know if that was any conversation.
So I would just add that, we're in the process right now of redesigning the park at Bothell Landing. And one of the great opportunities as we start to build parks again and we start to, go into construction is that we can really think strategically about, the placement of public art. And if you look at any of the projects that our chief architect that we're working with right now, if you look at any of their projects out there, what you'll notice first and foremost is they incorporate a ton of public art. That is like really a foundational thing for, that group as they work on their projects. So I wouldn't, I hear what you're saying, and I absolutely, respect that thought process. But I would say that I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in that park in particular, moving forward. So.
Okay. And also, I don't know what's happening on the whole Main Street situation and kind of what's happened, but obviously that's another premier piece of real estate for Bothell. I just think we're missing an opportunity if we don't recognize this thing that has an amazing draw already to Bothell too. So how do we just make sure that we are thinking holistically about the key points of places that we have art in Bothell? So. And so I don't know what the overall, what the next step is with this, or kind of what, and then who,
Because it's a temporary piece and, the funds expire after 2026, this is something that, Will wants to get going on. He has other projects that he's working on as well. So he has limited time. It is something that's considered temporary, so we're not looking at a permanent location for this. It's a fun opportunity. It is the location that really works well because it's something that is feasible. When we're looking at other projects in different locations, we probably, want to be thinking about something that's already completed and the bridge is done, so it's something that we can activate right away. Similarly to our other projects, the artists aren't asking for our feedback. They're the ones that are creating the project. In this situation, he was open to putting together 2 designs for the commission to consider. In the spirit of moving forward and working within one of our goals, which is to activate and actually complete projects, I would encourage us to make a decision on the 2 proposals tonight so that he can get going on the next phase for him, which is working with his structural engineer and then working with our public works and our permitting department on getting this actually complete.
Since it's temporary and it takes quite a long time to put up, say a permanent public art, like a crow. If it's temporary and say that's 2 years, maybe or more, I'm not sure, more or less. Could we say pick one and then say, okay, this is see what the reception is, see how people like it, see how we like it, how it's experienced, and then decide, okay, you know what, that was a great 2 years. Goodbye, Mr. Frog. Now we're going to put a crow here. We're going to use, we're going to have planned for that now for in 2 years to replace that. And then maybe we can commission something where it's something that we have more creative control over and can kind of represent what we want to represent wherever. But we don't necessarily, we're not picking, now we can never use the bridge again for art because this is permanent forever. It's like a temporary decision. And then we can reassess when the time comes to either make it permanent or not. Because I don't think realistically, even if we could put, because we can't ask him to do a crow because of the grant. Correct. So we can't direct him, but we can, try and then see and then plan for something in 2 years, because I imagine doing a permanent piece would take quite a long time, right? So if we kind of use that as the template of we'll have this here now, we'll have cool art for a couple of years, and then we can kind of decide from there if we keep whatever cool art is there or if we kind of move on to something different that we have more creative control over. I don't know if that makes sense.
If I may, I really want to rethink and consider what Mary Beth was just talking about. Since we are gonna, decide about the artwork, and Bothell has known for its crows. Maybe this is a time for us to distinguish between Bothell and Kirkland. So I'm really rethinking about putting a frog or having a different design. crow design for Bothell. I'm not sure about the timeline. I understand time is limited and the artist may or may not, feel comfortable, but that Mary Beth's comment made me rethink about what I just explained.
I think though the situation, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have the option of having him give us a third option. That's not an option. Yeah, so we have these two options and we have to pick one of these two options for that location.
Do we need to have to go with this person if we don't like, we want to stick with, or we prefer a different design?
So Sarah, I'm not sure you were with the Arts Commission when we went through the process of a jury that reviewed all of the grant applications. Will was one of our grant recipients based on the jurors' recommendations. And then ultimately it was the Arts Commission that selected him and then made the decision about the amount that they wanted to award to him for doing a temporary public art piece. But in his proposal, he had not specified a specific location at that time. So since then, he has met with Nick and I, and in the spirit of working within the timeline and the parameters of the funds that are available, we were encouraging him to work within the parks area because it's something that Nick was excited about having. So, it was a good way to work with the Parks Department and collaborate with them.
Okay. Thank you. My bad. I didn't know about the background. Sure, I understand.
And I would say the other piece too is that, they went through the process and he's an artist and this is what he's presented forward. So if we were going to do something different where, say, we were similar to like a dog, we're trying to commission a dog statue, that's an entirely different process in my mind, in that we have to give the artist the freedom to create. This is not what they've created.
Right.
So
and I totally understand that from a grants process. I will say then I wouldn't have given up that real estate. That, and just in full transparency, that's where. So I totally understand. We don't tell Masahiro how to put his video together. This is part of the grant program. I'm disappointed, candidly, because I feel like I think that's one of our signature. It's on our logo for the city, right? So it's a signature piece of real estate, and so to not have any control about it feels like a disconnect to me personally. So that's all.
And keep in mind too, it's temporary. It's not a permanent.
I get it, temporary, and so I understand that, but at the same time, it feels, I think he does great work. I was really excited by it as part of the grant program. I definitely signed off on it. It's just I will say between the two, I think the frog is probably, I'm sure it will be done tastefully. I worried about the suction tubing and that looking a little horsey and too big, and I didn't very attractive. It wasn't I didn't like that. I prefer this direction. I just, again, it's prime real estate for Bothell.
I put a sign to, I prefer living in Bothell.
And again, I would offer up that if we were looking for a space for this, right? We know that the park is going to be under construction, so putting it in the park would really be temporary in the sense that I could have to move it tomorrow as I'm, doing our different testing and, figuring out all what we're going to be doing. That said, if you are adamant against it, we can search for another location for it. And because what I don't want is to put something in there and then, you not to be happy with it. I mean, ultimately, this is your process. We want to make sure that you have that part of the control.
Well, and I appreciate I know you, and I'm the one that's voiced this. How does everybody else feel? And then we've got a couple of people that are missing, I guess it's like, Kelly's left and we've got Hillary as point of view too. I think it's just because it's such a signature piece of real estate for us. It would be helpful to know it in relation to a greater strategic plan that we're going to have like this great, I guess what I think about is if somebody from city council says, well, why'd you pick a frog versus a crow? how would I answer that as chair of the Arts Commission, right? I'm like, well,
Yeah, I mean, the challenge again is, even when we get into public art and when we're putting it into the park, we're not going to go to council and say, you want a crow there? I mean, what we're going to do is we're going to create public art and allow that freedom, to create that so that it's not just one piece. It's a really nice complement of different types of art.
Absolutely, and I think the more discovery of cool art through Bothell is our goal. Not all crows, absolutely not. Seeing this someplace in Bothell, absolutely. I think it's just, personally, that was.
Well, Will's been to Bothell now numerous times, and I've toured around, and we have talked about his options and what he would want to do. And he's even reached out to some of the business owners and asked them if he could add to their wall. And they've said no. So he's worked at it. He has tried to find a location. And so I think, as an artist, you also become inspired, and that's what inspired him. He wasn't finding a lot of inspiration in other locations, and the ones that he did, he was turned down, unfortunately. So.
But again, I would say, if you say as a group that this is not a location that you want it in, we will move to Plan B and whatever that is. And that may mean that nothing goes in, and we just have to figure out what that is.
And then the funds, we wouldn't be using.
We wouldn't expend the funds.
Yeah. So.
My only concern is that people will not be able to take selfies with it, like if they are on the bridge. Then you have to be on the kayak. Not everyone. There's so many people on the bridge, more than people on the river.
I think we can talk this to so many different angles and so many different points. I think that if you strongly are in agreement that this is not the location for it, then I will reach out to Will and see what he says. There's a possibility he may say, okay, let me go back to the drawing board. There's also a possibility that he may say, no, thank you. I just don't, I put my two proposals together. And he did ask me about that. He said, I'm happy to put two proposals together, because I asked him for that. I said, can you please put two proposals together so the Arts Commission can weigh in? And he said, I will do that. However, I don't want this to get into a situation where we're going down this path, because it is a grant program. It's a little different.
And that's what's totally different. I absolutely understand that. And again, in the spirit of having great art through Bothell, it's a great thing for us to do. And he's a very talented artist. And absolutely, it's like we definitely want his art in our community, right? It's just kind of processing is that the right, is everybody okay with that place? And maybe everybody is. And I'm a voice of one. So, but I also wanted to share,
Why don't we start with that? Is everyone okay with that place? If we could go around the room, and it'd be great to hear people's comments just on that location. Are you okay with that location? And if you are, great, we'll proceed with one of these two. If not, then I will let Will know that where we're at.
Or and I would just say, before saying, are there any other options that are for consideration that could at least, open that discussion before it's a final deal? It's just a question. Are there any other possible locations for his work to appear? I know you said he reached out to some people and they said no, but are there any other areas within the city that might be offered up for consideration?
He was really interested in being in a location that is not overly activated. He loves the idea of art in locations where maybe there's it doesn't have the maybe the aesthetic look and feel, and to have something to give it, to help beautify maybe an area. But honestly, we don't have an area like that, that I could think of. And so if that's something that you want to, if you do have that as an idea, then, that's something we can go forward with. But we pretty much exhausted, the possibilities at this point in time. So,
Thinking of every bridge on the river.
I know, I was thinking the one that just, it's currently closed, with the big one, right?
We're not going to put one under that one, I assure you. But that said, again, it is entirely up to the commission, and we're here to support what you want to do. So it does give me pause. If you don't want to go, then that gives me great pause, and we will go back to the drawing board.
I personally am fine with the location as long as it's on the trail side of the bridge, because then I feel like it's not too much in your face, but also like we're saying, like my motive is always going to be more art as fast as possible. And this is high quality art. This is art I know people will like. And our target audience, I think sometimes we operate in a bit of a bubble where we're like, everybody knows Bothell has crows. Like we're like everybody, but our target audience isn't necessarily people who live in Bothell entirely. It's people who also do not live in Bothell. And they might not, they won't know about the crows, and they might, so they might not be, I don't think we're going to get people put off by that, because they're not going to go, what a disconnect. This doesn't match their brand, because they're not going to know our brand. But they're not going to know our brand if they never visit our town. And so I think a crow that would have been ideal. That would have been perfect. And I think we would all be obsessed with it. And if he had done like a medal, we'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it would have been easy. It's not, because it wasn't, but that's a factor we can't control. So the factor we can control is, will there be art there or will there not be art there? And I would prefer to have art there. But that's just my opinion. And also I completely understand your point, because ideally it would be something that actually fully represents the brand and not just art. But the situation we're in is this.
Nikita, are you okay with this location, or are you?
The location is great because there is so much footfall there and so many people are there to see it. I like the art a lot. It's funny. It's really nice. My only concern, like, people prefer to take pictures, So I don't know how they're going to.
We get a ton of traffic on the water.
Yeah.
A ton. I don't know, I'm sure we have stats somewhere, but like in the summer, hundreds of people, I would estimate, a day.
Yeah, so it's
going
only
under, so they can.
summer.
Yeah, in the summer,
But
exactly, yeah.
The
And
trail is constantly active,
True.
whether it is rain or winter or whatever, right?
True, but I'm taking when I'm on the,
I'm
I don't
like-
like taking pictures of myself, so that's probably why, but I take pictures of the bridge constantly. Like in fall, there's no people in it. It's just me taking pictures of the scene. And so I think people will take photos that way and post them, potentially if not them in the photo, because obviously they can't. Hopefully no one climbs up behind them and tries to. The youth.
So this will go under the bridge.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we don't have any other option right now, right? We just have to choose and.
It's either yes or no, yeah.
Yeah.
I initially didn't see any problem location at first, but I think you do bring up a really great point. But because it is temporary, it's like 2 years. If we find that this is, a really great place and it gets a lot of traffic, a lot of attention, when it's gone, then I think then we can go in, like we were talking about before, commission someone and do our crow or whatever. Maybe not like under, but around, whatever, at whatever we decide, yeah. So I think this might be like a good experiment for that, especially if the crow piece is more permanent, and then really does become like a model symbol, because we don't know, maybe it isn't in a location people can see well. Maybe it like doesn't get a lot of attention. In that case, maybe our crow should go somewhere else. So I think it'd be an experiment, but I love it. I think it's really funny and cute.
And then, did we hear Sarah's?
Sarah, do you have, what do you think about the
You can go
Did you
between the
decide?
trees, like a hammock, right?
Yeah,
Trees.
honestly, for the location, I like the location that has been proposed, the bridge I'm talking about. And yeah, this is my opinion.
And Sarah, and you're with the frog? I think you mentioned the frog before.
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, since I learned more about the whole process and the conversation behind, I think at this point, I really do not want us to lose the money, fund, grant, and the artists. So I'm happy to go with the frog. And for the next time, I really would like us to see if we can promote something iconic to Bothell. Like
So-
crows, I mean.
So one approach, I guess, in the future would be to be very specific about what it is you want. So if you're making a call for a crow, and again, we probably need to talk about brand, because that is not a brand of the city, but we would want to, if that isn't what the intent is, and that's what you would like to see there, I think it has to be pretty intentional in asking for that versus sort of the open call.
And that's where, again, it goes back to the whole, this was the grant project, and a grant, we don't control that. And so that's why, it's giving up the real estate to the grant when we have no control. It's just such an iconic part of our city. It's a hard thing to just give complete freedom, complete, responsibility of having any say whatsoever to something in such an iconic space. Temporary is a really important word here.
Yeah. Really important.
Because, it's, I'm not opposed to it as a fun thing. But I would like us to just be able to think about it. I think we should have input and control over iconic pieces and things that we do want to represent Bothell, and we should do more of it. I mean, we didn't actually tell Beth Ann what to do, but there was a lot of input, I'm sure, that was given to her as far as representing the city, right? And obviously she gets it with all of her work and the way she's pulling this from different neighborhoods, et cetera. This is a totally different project, and we knew we didn't have responsibility or authority over any of that, just like Lot D, right? So you can only do so much, right? But then that's where it's like, but yet we're giving up our crown jewel of a place. That's where, again.
And again, what I would say to that is that we still have complete control. And so the bridge, it's a temporary installation. We actually have, when we say temporary, we have not set a date certain.
Right.
Meaning that if something else develops or something, we have the ability to pivot and do what we would like to do.
I think Carly had a really great point with the temporary thing, saying like we can kind of use this as like testing, like a trial, like a trial period, and see, does art function well there? Do people take pictures there? Is there a better position for people to take selfies? Like we can use this as like data gathering as well for like how to make the best.
Well, and I would say below the bridge, personally, might be better. That is an iconic place for family photos. And I don't know that everybody wants a cute frog personally as part of really professionally taken photos, right? So I'd argue it's better under the bridge because I don't want that as part of my photos. I don't want that to represent the city. Is it kind of an add-on? It's like the troll underneath the bridge, right? It's kind of this iconic place you go and you might have this little kind of fun experience with. So I'd prefer that it be under the bridge than on the bridge.
I agree. And the bridge is not an easy place to add art. When we were there with Will and he was looking around, you could tell that, it would be really difficult to put something at the top of it, for example. And if we were to do something with a crow and maybe, some other animals, I'm thinking of Brad Rood's circular Circle of Life art piece where he has different animals on it. And then I could see it on the rail as you enter to go onto the bridge. That would be a great location to have a crow along with some other animals. And I can show you some of his work, and that's something that we could talk about at some point too as well. But it is an iconic location, and it is prime real estate. It's just not easy. And I think really these two examples really are what would work best for the bridge based on all of the structure that's there and the different posts, and then you've got the steel and the rods, and it's
I think that's a whole different discussion that was, and we did only because I bet other artists could come and look at a bridge and come. I've seen crows on bridge, different things that I don't even want to go down that path because I don't think that's been explored. It's more it goes back to the whole thing. We awarded the grant to a very talented artist. He's come back with these ideas. And I mean, it's again, I feel like I'm rehashing the same thing. So we don't need to do that. I think we just, I think everybody has pretty much said they like the frog versus the flowers. So continue the discussions on the frog and let's kind of see where it all goes, right? But then also it's like, it goes back to, we have a lot of great opportunity to be more thoughtful. It comes back to the dog in the park, all these different things though. How do we want to use these funds most wisely? Totally agree. We should have lots of spontaneous art and great art in all different places to discover, but let's also be really thoughtful about what we can control and what we do think is representative of the city.
all right. Thank you for the direction.
How are we doing here on time? I know we took a lot of time on that. Okay, yeah, we're okay. Okay, let's move to Sound Transit Public Art. It was just quick updates on those folks that are the liaison, and I know Holly, you are one, right?
Yes. So I only know for one of the routes, because I was on, I think the one that was from Linwood to Erin. Anyway, but we've picked an artist. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. She's fantastic and local. So I was thrilled because, but so excited. So it's done. Yay! The art's not done, but we have an artist. But and they're going to be taking the bus lines and going to all the places and meeting with people in the community and doing everything that I would hope that they'd be doing. So very exciting stuff, and we're about to get some. Also, I'm very excited for the bus route in general. So it's a net win for the community.
Great. Hillary, we think, was the person that took on the second engagement with Sound Transit. I did text her when I heard that she wasn't able to make the meeting and ask for an update, but I haven't heard back from her. So we'll wait and maybe get that update next time. All right, let's move on to staff report.
All right, well, every 2 years, For Culture has a grant that's available to local arts agencies, and it's called Sustained Support. And it's funding that can be used for anything that you want. So it can be used for paper, it can be used for staff, it can be used for artists. It's very general, and we wrote our first grant back in 2019, when the Arts Commission first was formed. I wasn't even sure if we'd be eligible to apply, but we were. And I think we received like $7,000, and it's been consistently $7,000 every 2 years. And then you apply again and you get the funding. But now that Doors Open has started, and that's that funding that was passed that gave an incredible amount of funding in King County to For Culture for granting to nonprofit arts organizations and science and history, and the expansion among For Culture with all of these funds for these nonprofit organizations has been profound. And you probably have recently seen some articles about the funding that's gone out. You can go to their website and you can see all of the grant recipients, one of which is the Bothell Historical Society. They receive funding. What is really great about this new funding that's available is that it's opened up the funds that in the past went to these nonprofit organizations and has allowed more money now to be used for the local arts agencies. So in the past, when we've received about $7,000, we now just got word that we are receiving $26,000. And it's $26,000 every 3 years. So it's not just a 2-year cycle, but it's a 3-year cycle. So the exciting news is that we've got about $78,000 that will be infused into
10 times what the budget. Well, that's not true. It's like, yeah, sorry.
Close. Yeah. So earlier, Mary Beth had mentioned that she and Holly and I will be meeting toward the end of this month, and that will be some of the conversations that we'll be having about those funds. And there's opportunities to maybe wait and not use this year's fund and combine them with next year and do something next year. So that's, TBD. There's a lot to talk about, but we'll come forth with some ideas and some concepts for everyone to consider, and we look forward to all of your thoughts about that. So, congratulations.
Great news.
How was it just because of the For Culture? They were just like, now you have this much money, or did you have to apply for it?
Yeah, we had to apply. It was a grant that we submitted, heavily written around the cultural plan. Right now, when I called Brett, the facilitator for Culture on this particular grant, and I said, I would really like your input on how we did. I want to know what the strengths were, what the weaknesses were, what did the panel have to say, and he's like, honestly, we didn't really do that. We basically, they had so many other applications that they basically just kind of, based on previous funding, they gave funds out. And so if you go and you look on the For Culture website and you look at City of, We are receiving the least amount of any other city.
Really?
Yeah.
What does Edmonds get, or these like creative communities, what do they get?
I
I can go look, but.
I can tell you that the cities that have been doing this the longest are Auburn and Kent, and they're receiving about $70,000 per year.
Wow.
So, you know, and I think Brett understands where I'm coming from. You know, it's like, well, they've got a lot more money in their general fund than we do.
Yeah.
And let's be a little bit more equitable and thoughtful about this. He's in complete agreement. So I think that that's something that we're going to be continuing to have conversations with. They're really wanting to take a look at the LAAs and look at, and that's what a local arts agency, we call ourselves LAAs, take a look at that and what that means for the future.
Danae, because you said that this is a 3-year thing, does that mean we can't possibly get more money for the next 3 years?
Through other grants?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great question. If you go to the site and you see the other grant projects, if it's, it'll say that sustained support recipients are not eligible for this project, for this grant. So there are some that we aren't eligible for, but then there are others that we are.
Okay. So you're saying that it's possible that you could apply again to another grant through For Culture and get additional funding?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, good to know.
Thank you so much for doing that.
So just 26,000 for 3 years or every year, right?
It's 26 for 2025, 26 for 2026, and 26 for 2027.
And is
Which is
there,
when we're more like 6
Yeah.
for the years for each year. So that's a significant amount of money.
And, you know, in our application, we're building our program of work, but, and so we were able to talk about things that we hadn't done 2 years ago, so that's great. So we need to keep the momentum going, and this will be a great way to do that. We'll be able to talk about some of those programs of work that we're doing and why we need more money.
Right. To that point, the next thing.
Creative Arts Grant Program. Well, basically, I was just going to talk a little bit about the upcoming project, which you already mentioned. And then we have the project coming up with Raya Wu in June for Immigration Month. We are not sure what's happening with the Creative Art Grant Program for 25-26. That's what we'll be discussing at the end of this month, how we can maybe infuse some of these funds into that grant program if it's something that we really want to continue doing. It's been very fascinating watching the projects that have already occurred, the number of people that are attending, the amount of marketing that's being done. One of the projects that we just had was the African American Diaspora event that took place here at City Hall on a Saturday back in December. And this location was chosen because they didn't have a lot of money to do their project. You know, they wanted to dedicate the grant funds to paying artists and their artisans. So they were really looking for a location that would be cost effective, and that's what this space provided. So they used this room, they used 101, they used the council chambers, they used the lobby. And I have photos of that I can share with you. There were maybe 50 people at that event. It was not a great day. You know, the weather was horrible. But there also wasn't, you know, I think there, you know, that marketing component for a one-time event. You know, when we look at the events that happen in Bothell that are now more ongoing, like the summer nights, you know, those we've just completed our 3rd year, and we're starting to see what word of mouth means. And it's a big deal in this community. Word of mouth is a big deal. People are busy, and it's hard for them to, you know, read the e-newsletter or go to the website, or, you know, so the avenues that we have in place sometimes are difficult for those grant recipients.
So just one thing, I know that the previous grant funding came from the ARPA funds because of the pandemic, and that those went away. And I know we just got this new funding for culture, but that money was never toward the grant. But just especially with Nick here, you know, from a overall funding for the grant program as part of the overall budget, I mean, is that a completely done deal? There's no, it's not, if we want to continue this grant program, we have to use these funds from For Culture, or?
I would say that, yeah, it's not in the current budget, but that being said, we do have a little bit of flexibility. And by that, I mean, every year, we always look at what our underspend is.
Okay.
And so we have a certain amount of money that is allocated towards carrying out the budget. And every year for, in most years, not every year, but most years, things change. We have to pivot. We're local government. We have to, a bridge goes down and things change pretty quick for us.
Right.
So money may be pushed one way or the other, or it may, we may have to do something different, meaning that we're not spending that money. So there may be an opportunity, certainly more towards the mid-buy, which would be maybe fall of this year, really looking at where we at right now as a city and where are those opportunities. So there may be an opportunity to add some funding in there, but we just don't know right now. I would say though, again, that I'm cautiously optimistic that we can find a path forward.
Okay, that's great. Because I think, we have this momentum, and then we've got, you think about one of our key points of nurturing our artist community, and how better to do that with this grant, to be able to use it as a grant program. But now if we just taken all funding that we have for our year and then putting it at 25 is probably a reasonable amount for a grant program for a year, right? Was it 25 per year in the last couple? Okay, that's what I thought. So you kind of feel like, well, you hate to lose the momentum. Like you say, word of mouth, we're building awareness. There's these different things. People are coming. So it's like you want to kind of join into that. But then are we ready to commit all of our dollars that we have to that? Or is there's this opportunity? So it's kind of like, this is kind of part of that bigger strategic discussion, right?
And with this great infusion that's happening with Doors Open for organizations, if we start maybe looking at what our funding can do for individual artists, when you're talking about, representing our artist community, what could we be doing for individual artists that aren't eligible for those funds through Doors Open?
Oh, you're saying more to help them apply and
Yeah. And, Tuesday night, Nick presented to council. Did a fantastic job talking about an opportunity, and if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, actually, so are you referring to the program, the new program?
Right, and which, would involve arts and cultural events.
Yeah, so council, the mayor in particular, brought up the idea to council about creating more of a weekly series of events through the summer. And so he put it on the projected agenda, and that seemed like it fell under Parks and Rec and all the work that we do. So we had a discussion about that, and I was directed back in October of last year to create a request for proposals to do a community event series. We did receive one proposal from a company called Gilly Wagon LLC. And through that proposal on Tuesday night, I brought it back to them and walked them through some of those, what the proposal said. Again, it's not my proposal, it's certainly theirs. But essentially, they gave me the green light to negotiate a contract with them. So we'll be meeting with them next week, just real high level, 15 weeks, starting in the end of May, going all the way through August. On Saturday nights from 7 p.m. till, right now we're saying 12 a.m. because that was what their proposal said.
Wow.
And that was the desire. It's pretty expensive. So as you can imagine.
7 to 12 a.m. Wow, it's like rock and Bothell, man.
Event production is not cheap. I can assure you that. So it's about $15,000 per event, plus they've asked for in-kind city services. So in total, it's about $300,000 ask. But the city right now has, we believe that there'll be that underspend in the budget, and we believe that, there's an opportunity, and it is absolutely council's discretion to use that as they see fit. So this is something that they're really excited about. It would be on the pedestrianized section of Main Street, and there would be 15 nights, and I'll just give you a real brief overview of the ideas that they've already been talking about, which have been really kind of exciting. See if I can pull it up here. So the 15 weeks, they're going to be trying to do immersive experiences. The first week will focus on outdoor recreation, celebrating our love of the outdoors. this will involve music, food, vendors, show and tell, demonstrations, things like that. The following week would be the Pride celebration, so art, music, and community stories that are focused on inclusivity. They have a garden week highlighting local farms and sustainable practices. They have a Father's Day weekend, fun activities for dads and families.
Everybody wears a tie.
They have a week called the Retro Revival, which is nostalgic entertainment with a modern twist. Sweet Treats Week, which is desserts, ice cream from local artisans, and music and fun stuff. Cultural spotlights, so think of it in terms of like a Latin taco fest, or Juneteenth, or an Asian food fest. Laugh Out Loud Week, so comedians and opportunity to interact and just laugh and have fun.
Yeah.
The Dog Days of Summer, so a pet-friendly event that would focus on, being able to bring your dogs and do all kinds of cool things. What they're terming right now is Watermelon Fest, which is just a creative festival around fruit and vegetables and just having fun in the summer. So,
Does Gilly Wagon do these?
they produce. Yeah, they produce.
And do they do these someplace else? I mean, do they?
They're known for, they do like the Seattle Cocktail Week, and they heavily support the, gosh, who do they support Northwest Folklife, yeah. So they've been supporting them for several years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So will this replace summer nights?
it will not replace summer nights.
Really?
Yeah, and there's actually a couple more nights. There's Night Light, which is illuminating night displays and installations.
It's a good art one.
There's a dance night where they're going to do interactive dance, where you can come and learn to do all the different kinds of
Oh, that's awesome.
dance. There's a date night, which is a romantic evening with gourmet food, music, and cozy setups. They have a she economy, so it's celebrating women's achievements and creativity and some of the local businesses. And then also astrology and astronomy, so stargazing with space-themed activities.
Wow. These are like so different, which is really cool.
Oh, I love it.
Are they
Yeah.
going to,
So part of it.
event, are they going to support the local artists and local?
Yeah, so it's all focused on local, artisans, local, businesses, that they really focus trying to, really get that energy going. Again, those are Saturday nights, so we're still doing our Friday night series. The big change for us is that we're going to no longer do the market event on Friday nights on Main Street,
Okay.
because we feel like that is sort of being taken care of here. We are going to transition those 2 nights to movie nights in the park. So that will be on Friday nights, and we're looking to do movies in the park. So
Fun.
to add to our music in the park and our theater in the park and the other items that we've been doing with our summer nights program.
So summer nights will always be down at the park?
It will be here, and then we're moving the movie in the nights back out to where we used to do music in the park, which is out in the North Creek ball fields, because there's a place where people can gather and sit and,
Nice to meet some other, like, not always right
A lot
downtown.
of parking there.
it's perfect for spreading out and having a nice, put your blanket down and. do
So
your
I
thing.
think I heard that there's a new marketing, you're trying to find a new marketing person. So it's because I'm like, okay, these are all great. Now you just need, like, there needs to be more marketing and awareness of it.
Yeah, so again,
Yeah.
this is a contracted series, so.
Yeah.
They will be, that this is what it takes to produce those. We're going to help just with the basics, like permitting,
Sure.
contracting, any kind of, waste management, portable restrooms, doing that kind of stuff. But we're not going to get in their way of producing these or
But do
being.
they have, somebody helps market it to the public? So they, I mean, obviously the Bothell website and that kind of stuff, but.
How are they going to source the local artisans and?
Yeah, so they have a whole team. This is their
Yeah.
company. Yeah, their team will focus on, marketing, paid social media campaigns, PR efforts,
Yeah.
leveraging local media, influencers, in-house design. They have communications people, they have PR management people. I mean, they're.
Great, great, great.
Yeah.
So they're responsible for.
They're a
marketing, yeah.
full, yeah.
Honestly, the price seems like pretty reasonable given
the amount within.
Yeah, I mean, if you look
No,
at
I don't-
summer
Yeah,
nights,
that's not very much. I've done a lot of events.
Our event next week is costing 3 times more than that, and it's for 4 days.
you know, our summer nights average about 18,500 per event for production, not including any kind of staff time that's towards that. So that's just the average of what those events cost. I will say that, you know, our 4th of July event, you know, is well over a couple $100,000. I mean, it's a
More
lot, very,
typical.
very expensive to
These guys
produce.
are a deal. Like, we should
That's really exciting.
So we're gonna try it out. Council's interested. We don't know, and you don't know until you try, right? So in the spirit of, you know, really trying to, as the mayor would say, create cool experiences and cool places for people to go, we're gonna move forward. I'm gonna start negotiating with them next week, and we'll see where we go from there. But I'm excited to see
From a
that come.
tourism standpoint, I'm very excited
Yeah.
to package this as a Friday, Saturday night opportunity for those days. So it's going to be great. It's going to be so great.
We're one step closer to just living in Gilmore Girls. Like, we're getting there.
It just seemed like all the things that were happening last summer were very well attended, right? I
Yes.
mean, it's just
Yes.
like, the first year of summer nights is like, okay, you got some activity, and then it just seems like the momentum keeps going, right?
Yeah,
So that's great.
and I would say, you know, again, that's sort of that brand work that we've been doing. We saw last year, we saw our largest numbers of attendees. We saw the comments that we were getting, the feedback that we got was almost overwhelming at times. I mean, we were really getting, people would post something just randomly on the social media channels, and then there would be, you know, 300 comments about how wonderful it was, and you got to come check it out, you know, and so then it was continuing to grow. It was an interesting, you know, conversation as well, as because at some point, as you grow, you have to figure out how are you going to manage that growth?
Right.
Because not every event can handle thousands and thousands
Right,
of
now
people.
all these people parking and all this other.
But that's a good problem to have. From an
True.
event world, that's where we love to be, so.
Right, that's great. Very cool.
So how can we be present in these events? I guess is part of the question. So like, for like some of them, it kind of draws like we should, like for the nighttime glowy, like stuff like that. But I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for us.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I mean, part of, you know, the conversation that I'm going to have with them is really leveraging some of these local assets. And I see, you know, the Arts Commission is one of those, you know, opportunities for them to interact with you. And what thoughts, ideas do you have? So I'm fairly certain that they'll be very interested in doing
I just
that.
want to help wherever I can because
Yeah.
it's so exciting.
Absolutely, and that, I mean, that's really, I mean, how can we just be integrated into what's already happening? You know, I think when I first joined the Arts Commission, like, the Arts Commission was planning a chalk event or planning actual events. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, that's so hard. I mean,
It's a lot.
I know
It's a
what
lot.
goes into event planning, and we don't have the capabilities to do that, right? So to be able to tap into those that are able to pull it off, that's the best thing. And also, so there's that side of it. And then also, I know we've talked about, you've got all these great projects from the park standpoint. So let's tie into that. We don't want to create our own thing, but how do we just work with you? I mean, you know, Whitney's great and everything about everybody on that group. How do we just make sure that we're aligned? And all your projects should have an art component, and how do we just work
100%,
together?
yeah, 100%. And we, you know, we haven't built a new park in, it's been, I think StyPec probably was our last park that we truly built out. And that was a long time ago. So we actually hope to break ground.
Miners Park.
Well, that was Snohomish County.
That's Snohomish
Yeah.
County.
We actually hope to break ground this year on Madrazo Park, which is a brand new park
I know, I'm like,
that
please,
has been
please.
sitting around, you know, since 2009.
How many
when we
people
started
ask me
talking
about that park?
Yeah.
I'm like, I go, yeah, I'm like, because that was supposed to open before the pandemic, right?
I mean, we've gone all the way through up to construction bidding and then pulled back. So we are at a good point right now. One of the things I would say is that it is First Lieutenant Nicholas Madrazo. He was a local kid who grew up here in Bothell and went to West Hill Elementary, Canyon Park Junior High, Bothell High School, went into the military and unfortunately was, you know, passed away in his service to the country. So it is a memorial park in that sense. We've intentionally not reached back out to the family because we've got to so many points here that we've had to pull back. So my strategy is certainly we're getting close and I'm excited about it. but I want to have certainty before we reach back out. They've actually moved out of town now. They live in a different state now. So we'll be reaching out to them, and that will give plenty of time because construction takes quite a while. That park will include 6 lit pickleball courts, a basketball court, just some really cool things that the community's been asking for. So we're really excited to.
So in your
in a good
mind, what's
spot.
the ETA of when?
I hope to break ground this year. So
But then how long would it take to finish it?
typically, park construction's anywhere from 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
This is a little bit of a unique situation because we're building over a 6 million gallon sewage holding tank out in the North Creek area. So it currently exists. It's sort of this open field.
I know,
You're
I've
out
gone
there
past
kind
it.
of looking at like, what is that,
Right.
So that was designated as parkland as part of their mitigation for building that facility. So King County, owns the property, but we are going to build a park over it. So very cool.
Yes, it is. And then you have also the one up north that's more of a special, I want to say a special need, that says there's the accessible, like the.
Yeah,
where's
so
this?
the Inclusive Playground Project,
Inclusive Playground.
yeah, so we're working with Harper's Playground and to put in a fully inclusive playground up at the Cedar Grove Park. And that's an incredibly exciting project as well. When you think of playgrounds, you think of like what you see today, which are, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 playgrounds, but they're really inaccessible. And even though they meet the current ADA standards, you think about someone in a wheelchair and trying to get up on just the pirate ship down there, impossible. Just trying to wheel over to it, you get into those wood chips and you can't get there. There's so many different things to think about, and we've really found a great partner in Harper's Playground to really help us kind of get out in the community. We've met with, a number of different organizations to really hear out what they would like to see. The Alyssa Burnett Center, we've been up at the Sorensen School. We've, really got some wonderful feedback. So we are moving forward with that project, and I'm really, really excited about that. But
Yeah.
as we move forward with all of our playground projects from this point on, we're going to be using those principles. So including the park at Bothell Landing
Wow.
as we build an inclusive playground there.
And public art is a part of.
Every single one of them.
Right. And so that's where, as we talk through this, like the process and everything else, it should just be as new commissioners come on board and everything else, it's like, how do we just naturally just have this partnership to help make things happen,
Yeah,
right?
like one of the artists we were interviewing for the bus panel, she did accessible playground design, like art design. So they changed the whatever the turf. It's not turf, but it's the rubbery stuff. So it was like a picture of like this adorable like farm from on top. But then that way, like every single area, because a lot of these parks are like very colorful, very bright, but they're a lot of flat areas, a lot of like moving from place to place. And so every single area was engaging and exciting and like interactive with the kids because they could be look at something like colorful or something fun. And so and that was just art integrated into where you walked. So there's so many opportunities.
The other thing that I think there's a really great opportunity this year to sort of put a little bit of a stamp on what we're doing in Parks and Rec is we are going to be doing our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. So what that is it's a similar, think of it in terms of like the comprehensive plan that we just did for the city. It's really the park version of that. What are the next 10 years looking like in parks? And there's a really, strong art element to that. And so, even next week as we're interviewing our consultants for that project, Danae's on that panel, and we're, going to be really involved in just making sure that we're touching with all of our commissions, our Planning Commission, our Landmark Preservation Board, our Parks and Rec, and our Arts Commission, but really seeing that as an opportunity to really, be a strong advocate for arts and really get that in that plan, get it in the plan.
That is a really key thing to this thing that Jen sent me, right? And by using creativity and art in planning. And
Yeah.
so that we should definitely have a conversation more about that, just because I that's a perfect place for that to be.
And it's a big, it's a big conversation. There's going to be a lot of public engagement. But really what's another thing that's cool about it is we're really looking at what does that mean potentially as we look to potentially fund a levy or something like that? What type of projects would we include? And it's when we think of, parks and recreation and art and tourism and all the things that we do, what are those big projects? What are the big ideas that you have that really the community would get behind and get excited about and want to fund?
Right.
You
You just remind me of this, and I don't know if, Danae, if you've shared this with Nick, but when we did our offsite, I know we're kind of going a little off script, but this is like so meaningful, right? But just, we had all of our visions from the cultural plan, and these are the council visions that, in the 2020, what's it,
2040.
2040, thank you. So all the color is where we overlap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and so when we were doing that as part of our offsite, it's like, oh my God, we are so aligned.
Yeah.
So how do we just really utilize this and take it forward? So.
Exciting times.
I really apologize for, interrupting, but I have to go.
Okay,
I
sorry,
wanted to
Sarah.
excuse my-
We probably,
So sorry.
we probably were trying to do that for about a half an hour, right?
Yeah, I thank you so much, and I try my best to be present for the next meeting for sure.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
And
Thank
to
you.
your
Bye-bye.
associate.
Yes, for sure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, obviously really great stuff. I recognize we have 15 minutes left. We're almost done here, but maybe just a couple quick more updates on John Fleming, and then, go ahead.
So when you were talking about planning and being creative, this was a great opportunity to work with the planning department and, that space at Lot D. The developers were interested in incorporating art into the actual building. They are required to cover the garage. It can't be exposed. It has to be something attractive. And so you see these wonderful creative opportunities, and when we got to take advantage of that. They were interested in working. Their offices used to be directly across from John Fleming's piece that is on Western Avenue. So when they saw that piece, they actually, they took photos of it and used it in their proposal, So then it was like, all right, well, now you need to talk to the artist about that. So anyway, as you all know, this has been quite a process, Nikita, you weren't here when we first, when John came and proposed his idea. The color palette was different, and we went through several different iterations. We finally landed on some incredible colors. Initially, there were going to be words. There are petals. There are thousands of petals, and you probably have seen it at the Alexan. But if you haven't, it's right on Bothell.
Okay.
And it's a huge structure that wraps around the building along Bothell Way, and then wraps around the corner. What street is that? That is where the library is. Whatever that street is.
I know, it's like, I couldn't tell you, I've lived for 30 years.
That it wraps around that, and it covers the parking garage. So anyway, there are thousands of petals, and they're all different colors. And initially, John's idea was that there would be names there of residents, and then he got more creative and came up with some great ideas and put together a whole story. And so the story is what Bothell was from Geolithic times to the future. And what's really great about it is that there's no periods, there's no capital letters, and so really you can start reading it at any point in time when you're on the road. You can kind of take a look at one section, and anyway, it's being completed this week. So I've been going.
I know, I keep looking.
I keep driving by. So went by Tuesday. I'm like, oh, there's words. And
Words now?
Yeah, there are words
Really?
now. So,
I'll have to make
so they're it's almost done. So you're really going to be able to see it best when you're on the sidewalk as opposed to in your vehicle.
Yeah, I would actually recommend that you
I
get on the
know.
sidewalk.
And Side Hustle opened up this week, too.
They did. I was there Wednesday.
I was there Tuesday. Yeah, I think I'm meeting my family there. That's why I have to get picked up over there today. So, well, it's good food. It's
Very
So
good.
good. It's so good. And I think they have I've been talking to business owners that I've just thought might have, like be interested in hosting art shows or whatever. We've talked about those artist connection. And so far, Make Apothecary, super in, Crowbar probably in, Bartender definitely in. He says he's going to try to convince his boss, but we might have to pay. So I was like, I'm not sure about that one. And then I talked briefly to the owner on Wednesday, but they just opened, so I'm going to have another
The
conversation.
owner down here at
Side Hustle, yeah, because he was super friendly. So I'm going to try to have another conversation with him when he's not opening his restaurant about that. Because I think their location could actually be really great because they have a very unique, like they have a lot more space than a lot of the places here. Lots of wall space, yeah.
Yeah,
So
they could use a little bit
just
more.
putting out feelers, trying to get that happy hour happening kindly with all of the artists and business people.
Yeah, they could be part of the art walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. So.
Speaking of Art Walk, the coordinator for that event, Hannah, she has purchased Suga Fine Art and Framing.
Really?
So it's been renamed to Willard, which is her family
Oh, I
name.
heard you say
So it's
that.
Willard Art and Frame.
Okay.
They had a grand they had like a ribbon cutting grand opening event tonight, to kick off the new business. With the chamber. So I ran over there real quick before the meeting.
I saw people there and I was trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so she's painted, it looks amazing.
Beautiful.
It looks really great.
beautiful.
So,
Okay.
not just stop it.
They changed it. I don't know if they're doing classes there or something too or something.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too, because I walked past it and I saw all these
Yeah.
examples of things. I thought, oh, do they do classes?
Yeah.
It seemed like it was more like that.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
Great. And that is a perfect segue into what's happening around town. Anything else anybody else wants to talk about of things going on around town?
Just hope to see you at the screening of Sarah Sugano's film that will be at UW on January 25th, 3 to 5.
Great. Anything else? Sarah's no longer there. Okay. We don't really have a whole lot of action items that I can think of that came from tonight. Is that right? Anybody have any that we should call out? And I don't think we had a whole lot from before either, Danae, so maybe we can take a back look at that. And future meeting agenda items, maybe the guy who is coming to give us the grant input. And then if there's any other updates regarding open doors or anything else, we should probably revisit that. Plus, but next time, we will definitely be talking more about the action from the cultural plan. And we'll probably start, when is the first meeting that you think, that planning's meeting might be with council? Will that be before mid-February?
I want to say it is in February.
Okay.
But we'll have to get back to you.
Okay. If by chance it's before our meeting, then it would be great for us to maybe talk about us planning, because I bet if our meeting is March 18th, then we would not be meeting before that for council. So let's try to target February of what we need to do to prepare for the March meeting. We should put that as one of our agenda topics. Okay. And then just a reminder, our next meeting is Thursday, February 20th. So everybody has that. Anybody have anything else, or should we try to adjourn the meeting?
Just real quick, I think I know the Parks Committee is meeting the week before our meeting, and they were going to talk about dog statue with them, their whole committee then, and update us. And so we might have an update, just a brief update on our meeting. But.
Got it. Okay. No. Okay. Anything else? All right. So then I think we just need a motion to adjourn the meeting if there isn't anything else. Does anyone want to second it?
I can second it.
Is there any discussion? Anybody want to stay longer? All right. All in favor, raise your hand. Is there anyone opposed? No. Unanimous. All right. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Great to see everyone. It's been, I guess we had our rush meeting in early December, and then it's been like everybody dispersed from there. So great to have everybody back again.
Happy New Year.
Yes.
2025.
Speaking of like